And especially for people coming into the industry that haven't worked in it before.
Yeah.
It's their first experience. So you don't get taught this stuff in medical school. You don't get taught this stuff when you're studying to become a nurse. This is all stuff that you have to try and figure out when you get started. It's a lot of responsibility, and there's a lot of stuff that you won't realize you're doing wrong until it's too late.
Yeah.
Until someone like Jahan comes knocking or sends you a nice friendly email. Hello, we'd like some money, please. Or the Department of Health knock on your door and say, we'd like to do a surprise.
An audit.
We'd like to do an audit.
Well,
Please show
joking
us
aside,
everything.
and maybe people weren't aware of this. There is an assumption, which I think is completely wrong, that the chain clinics kind of are, lower quality in some way. But actually, I think if you think about it, the size of them and the budget behind them, their frameworks are going to be pretty solid. They can't run it any other way because they've got to run 150 plus clinics across the country.
Yeah.
So like you said, you're probably doing it for years,
Yeah.
all this stuff. And whether it's stock checks, fridge checks, having protocols in place for various things, that was already probably done by your clinics. Whereas you go to your average boutique standalone clinic, I'm telling you now, half of them won't have proper protocols. They might have an emergency medical bag in the corner that's been gathering dust, but are they really sort of having protocolized systems? Probably not.
No, it's a good point you raise. I think, as you said, people, when they think of the chain clinics, they think, oh, low price, they must be non-compliant, or then, they're cutting corners. But in actual fact, they have so much money and resources behind them that, especially when you start getting like private equity involved or people that sort of understand like corporate governance and the importance of compliance, they really hammer down on this kind of stuff and will throw lots of money and resources at it in terms of like getting a medical board, running things at a scale. They've got a lot of experience at rolling things out at scale and doing it at speed. So the chain clinics, even as far as the training of the people that are working with their organization, because a lot of people come into these chain clinics that don't have any experience in this industry and they provide that training, they do it a lot better than any of the standalones that I've seen. And I'm sure that probably infuriates a lot of people, but it's the reality of the situation, is because they know that they've got a target painted on their back.
Correct.
So
and weirdly, although it's nice to have it explicitly in these new guidelines, which were sort of an update to what's called the Poisons Act, it actually prohibits a non-medical person from injecting, which, here in Australia, we sort of laugh at and we think it would never happen, but I'm sure it's happened somewhere. But it's nice and explicit. It just says effectively nurse or doctor. It doesn't actually say dentist, but I think it says medical professional, so that includes dentists. Whereas we keep on pointing to the UK. I know that's a different problem, but interestingly, just a week or two ago, in Parliament, there was a new, I don't know what, it's not passed yet, but they're going to vote on it. But each clinic will have to have some sort of license now. So it looks like even in the UK, things are potentially changing. And, who can get their hands on this license? Don't know. But it looks like even the regulation there is starting to sort of ramp up. So, I hope that it makes things better for us. But it's still, there's just so many things that we need to think about, and too many regulatory bodies that it can be still a little bit difficult and confusing.
And especially for people coming into the industry that haven't worked in it before. It's their first experience. So you don't get taught this stuff in medical school. You don't get taught this stuff when you're studying to become a nurse. This is all stuff that you have to try and figure out when you get started. And it's a lot of responsibility, and there's a lot of stuff that you won't realize you're doing wrong until it's too late. Until someone like Jahan comes knocking or sends you a nice friendly email. Hello, we'd like some money, please. Or the Department of Health knock on your door and say, we'd like to do a surprise,
an audit.
We'd like to do an audit.
Well,
Please show us
aside,
everything.
and maybe people weren't aware of this. Thanks so much for watching the podcast clip. You can listen to the whole audio episode of the podcast on your favorite podcast app, on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And please also leave us a review on the podcast app.
If you like what we do, please smash the like button, consider subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when we release new content.